Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're taking a look at the 10 hardest Castlevania bosses.
By fighting you, all that I need to know will be revealed.
Castlevania is a series not for the faint of heart, and we don't mean that in terms of scary. Konami's famed action platformer franchise is known for having its fair share of infuriating enemies, and the same could be said for its bosses. Did any of these baddies give you trouble? Was there a tougher foe we forgot? Share with us in the comments below.
Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
The Black Knight, Castlevania Lords of Shadow. In case you aren't familiar with the Lords of Shadow games, they served as a way to help Castlevania evolve with action-driven titles, even if the franchise didn't really need to do so. Still, Lords of Shadow is worth checking out, especially when you get to fight foes such as the Black Knight. No, this is not the same Black Knight from King Arthur's stories, but rather a golem made to protect dear Claudia. Throughout the fight, the big brute will do everything to keep you hopping around like a madman, generating shockwaves and utilizing far-reaching attacks. So as long as you mind your position and not mindlessly wail on him, you should come out a-okay. Gravedorcus, Castlevania Order of Ecclesia. Oh, why doesn't anyone talk about the DS games the same way they do with the other older titles? They had their fair share of memorable moments and fights, and Order of Ecclesia is no exception. One fight that stood out was the grueling duel against Gravedorcus. Basically, what you have is a demonic sand shark with bladed fins and poison-inflicting vomit abilities that cover quite a bit of ground. On top of that, Gravedorcus can spew out explosive spores that can do a hefty amount of damage. Watch your step, keep your distance, prioritize the spores when they appear, and you should do just fine. Oh, and when you can, spam attacks that deal strike and ice damage. He's incredibly weak against those. The Belmonts.
Are you the Devil Forge Master? I am. Then this is the hour of your death.
If you ever needed a greater challenge, facing the Belmonts themselves proved to be quite a feat. Not only are you fighting against your ancestors, who wield almost the exact same arsenal as you, but some of them will come with a few extra bells and whistles to keep the pressure on. This could come in the form of an extra attack to use, or inflicting elemental damage, or just being a spammy troll. It all depends on which game you're playing, really. Even if we get mad, they are still a treat to see in every installment. Menace, Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow. Oh, don't you just love it when a boss takes up 10 screens and has a tiny hurt box compared to his overall size? No? Well, that's what we got anyway in Dawn of Sorrow, and it sucks. Menace lives up to his name by being an oversized jerkwad that has to be hit in very specific spots, much like another adversary who we'll get to later. It's very easy to get overwhelmed in this fight, as Menace will try to keep you cornered and send enemies after you. Patience and precision is key here, so don't try and rush it. Saint Germain, Castlevania Curse of Darkness.
By fighting you, all that I need to know will be revealed.
Who invited Mr. Planter's vampiric cousin? As fancy and gentlemanly as he may appear, Saint Germain isn't one to scoff at under any circumstance. For starters, he is the token let me spam my teleport move and fly across the map every half-second boss. So he's already annoying with just that. Then there's his irritating, time-stopping abilities that can freeze you in place and impose a very distracting clock animation on the screen. Look man, you're already disappearing and reappearing in random spots like a Bugs Bunny cartoon. Frickin' chill!
I surrender! I promise not to interfere with you again.
Galamoth, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Symphony of the Night is already a challenging entry in the Castlevania series, at least for players who haven't picked it up in recent years. Like me. However, of any fight in the game, Galamoth is the one we still have some difficulty with, and it's because of his wide attack. See, Galamoth likes to spam this lightning attack that deals a ton of damage within a few seconds, and he uses this way more than any other attack he has at his disposal. Even with a large amount of health, you'll be close to death by the time you finally off him. Sleep tight, you big lummox. Doppelgangers. Much like the Belmonts, you'll be fighting a foe that wields the same arsenal as you, plus a few extra tricks up their sleeve. The thing about the Belmonts, though, is that they sometimes use attacks and maneuvers you've seen before, usually because you played as that Belmont in a previous game. The Doppelgangers, on the other hand, have the exact same tools as you, in addition to more powerful abilities. From transformations and attacks that trigger upon death, to additional technical skills like quick-stepping, the Doppelgangers will test your prowess, and they serve as an excellent late-game boss battle, albeit a frustrating one. The Forgotten One, Castlevania Lords of Shadow.
I will strip the living flesh from your body and devour your soul.
Enough talk! How about you?
Gonna be honest with you, Lords of Shadow is one Castlevania game you may not want to finish right away, or at least 100%, considering one of its boss fights. Granted, the Forgotten One is entirely optional, and thank God he is, because we'd be breaking controllers if this guy was mandatory. On top of being a long boss fight, lasting roughly 15 to 20 flippin' minutes, which is substantially longer than the average Castlevania boss fight, he goes into 3 different forms, each having their own set of attacks to frustrate the crap out of you. He hits hard, he can do poison damage with his stupid maggots, and he is the bane of our existence. You deserve to be forgotten! And yet, you haunt me to this day. Death. Yes, Death is arguably worse than the Forgotten One. Who else can we expect to spawn in sentient scythes and sickles from out of the blue? Who else would dare employ teleportation moves and be annoying about it on the same level as Death? Who could possibly demand we only use magic attacks and constantly drain our magic because, you know, physical attacks and human abilities don't work on Death? And better yet, what other Castlevania boss would be a cheap sack of bones capable of rejuvenating himself, thus extending the boss fight even further? Death. Death would. And Death is an ass. Dracula. Castlevania. Doesn't even matter which one. Even after enduring all of these other bosses, yes, Menace, the Forgotten One, Death, even Saint Germain, no one puts up a tougher, more infuriating fight than the Lord of Darkness himself. Dracula has, in most of the games, served as the final challenge in your quest, and he doesn't hold back. In fact, he's relentless. Pillars of hellfire, rushing you as a swarm of bats, transforming into a giant demon, he pulls every trick in the book. And if that wasn't bad enough, Portrait of Ruin forces you to fight Dracula and Death at the same time. You can feel the stress and anxiety just looking at him, and it's why Dracula has cemented himself as one of the toughest bosses in gaming to ever exist. My goodness, the migraines. They are real.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, there's more where that came from.